Welcome back, everybody, to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. It is Business Monday. We are action-packed today. We've had Gary Sass on, Dr. White from Kenya, one of the more interesting stories that I've ever heard, and our General Treasurer, Seth Magaziner, who has also offered to do open heart surgery on me as well as Dr. White did it earlier.
That is in nobody's best interest.
That is
no.
Right. You've got some big news today. Tell us a little bit about helping Rhode Islanders out a little bit.
Yeah, we are really excited about this. So, as you know, our office runs the state unclaimed property program, where if a business owes you money, a bank, an insurance company, they owe you money but they don't know how to find you, they're not supposed to just keep your money. They're supposed to hand it over to the state so that we can reunite it with its rightful owner. What we're announcing today is that we have automized the process. It used to be that if you had unclaimed property at the state, you had to call our office or go search our database and fill out a form, and it was a very
I've done it.
Yeah, so you know that it was if you didn't know you had unclaimed property,
Right.
you would never get it,
Right.
So what we've done is we passed some legislation that allows us to partner with other state agencies to proactively find people and get them their missing money back. So starting today, we are mailing out checks to 35,000 Rhode Islanders.
Wow.
About $10 million that we were able to match. And for most of these people, you know, they won't even know that they were missing this money until they wake up and go down to the mailbox and there'll be a check there waiting for them. But this is an example of modernizing government, making it more proactive. This is the first time it's ever been done in Rhode Island this way, and we believe we're only the second state in the country to automatically, proactively send out checks to get people reunited with their missing money. So we're very excited.
Oh, what was the first thing, just as a
What was the first?
state to have taken on such
Wisconsin was the first one. Rhode Island is the second. And as I mentioned before, 35,000 people. The average check size is about $249. So, you know, a lot of families are still struggling, and you know, hopefully this will help some people out.
You are playing Santa Claus here at late November.
Well, except this isn't a gift; it's their money, right? This is
Take
their
full
money that
credit.
they are entitled
You
to
get
get.
blamed for enough
Yeah.
things. Just, is it signed by you?
It's signed by me and the state controller,
Yes,
as all state checks are.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Take
Yeah.
full credit. Jeez. The impetus for how did you come up with this strategy? And by the way, listen, all the time we raise questions about the lack of modernization of the technology infrastructure in Rhode Island government. And you know, we have GoLocals in other states, so we see some other states being pretty far ahead in some of these areas. Here's an example of Rhode Island really pushing to the forefront, and it sounds like just a tremendously positive step forward.
Yeah, you know, I think it started really as a new generation of people coming into the state treasurer's office. So, you know, I'm relatively young. My chief of staff, Patrick Marr, our unclaimed property director, Lamas Vargas. It really started with a conversation when I first took office a couple years ago. The three of us were just sitting around, and you know, it used to be, you know, we would send our unclaimed property staff out to the farmer's market, and they would put up a tent, and whoever would walk by, you know, do you want to check and see if, and we were just sitting there thinking, like, there's got to be a better, this is 21st century, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so we started looking at the data and thinking, well, what if we match our data with Department of Taxation or other state agencies? Maybe there are people where we don't know how to get to them, but you know, another state agency does. And it was really, I think, just a product of, you know, some younger and, in their case at least, more tech-savvy people coming in and looking at the problem a different way.
And when are these checks going out?
The first batch goes out today,
Yep.
and we anticipate that all of them will be out by the end of the year. So
and will Amazon Prime be delivering them, or the United States Postal Service?
The United States Postal Service will deliver these, and yeah, and then going forward, as we get new unclaimed property that comes in, the same process automatically it'll be sent out to the rightful owner if we have their information, and
And what
it's a good
databases are
process.
you pulling from? DMV and
Yeah.
all the different,
The biggest one is taxation.
yeah,
Because, you think about it, the Department of Taxation is already sending people tax refund checks and
Right.
things like that, and so.
they also send tax bills.
They send all kinds of things, and so.
Most of them are not good.
Yeah, but,
just so you know.
but in this case, there were some people who they knew their addresses, and we were able to get the unclaimed property checks to them that way. We matched the unclaimed property database against the state pension database. I mean,
Right.
all of these different agencies across state government.
What was the biggest check that went out?
So if it's over $2,000, we're going to call the individual and have them fill out a little extra paperwork just to be extra sure.
Are you going to do a
that we're
big
doing it
lottery
right.
check kind
Yeah,
of thing?
no, but like I said, the average is $249, and
But the biggest, do you know what
Yeah.
the biggest is?
it's into the tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands?
In this batch, no, but that has happened in the past.
Hundreds of thousands?
Conventional unclaimed property has happened in the past, yeah.
And is there any ability to take this money, run over to Twin River, put it on 17 Black, and see if you can really make
Well,
it into something?
I'll tell you what, we were so excited about this program. I said, the first person whose name is at the top of the list, I want to call him myself.
Did you?
And I did, and nice guy, he got about $300, and swear to God, he said, I'm going to donate to the food bank.
Nice.
So,
Well done.
you can do whatever you choose,
Yeah.
but we're going to give you a nudge and say it's the holiday season, it's a time to be generous and give back.
Well, I mean, Dr. White was just here doing 2 surgeries a
Right.
day for 10 years in Africa. You can't find much better than that.
Right. Contribute your unclaimed property to him.
Yeah, absolutely, an unbelievable story. Let's jump over to some other issues. College. It is that time of year for grandparents and parents to think about funding their child's college education. Always a good time to make a little, the cost of higher education, as someone who has one out and one in, has not gone down over the last 6 years. It grows at about 2 to 3 times inflation at most colleges and universities in the United States. Any words of recommendation for folks who are looking at?
Well, absolutely. So the cost of higher education, as you say, it's out of control. And the best thing that you can do is start saving early. So one way to start saving early is through the College Bound program. The College Bound program, as you know, is one of the largest 529 college savings plans in the country. And the news that developed since I think the last time I was here is that the Morningstar, which is a nationally known firm that rates investment funds,
Right.
they reaffirmed College Bound's ratings as among the highest in the country. They base that on performance, they base it on low fees, they base it on plan administration. So if you put some money in a College Bound account for your child or your grandchild or your nephew or niece, you can do it knowing that it is one of the highest rated college savings programs of its kind in the country, which is very exciting.
And grandparents literally love to make donations, contributions this time of year.
Yeah, we typically see November, December as being our best months for College Bound in terms of new money coming in. For that reason, it's the holiday season. It's a good gift for a young person.
Let's jump over to an entirely different issue. Gretchen Morgenson, who's been the top financial writer in the United States, Pulitzer Prize, wrote about a month ago a big investigative piece in the New York Times. Kate had her on a week or so ago on GoLocal Live. She Skyped in from the New York Times. She has subsequently jumped over to the Wall Street Journal, I think effective a week or so ago. And the last piece she wrote about was the New York Attorney General looking into some of the selling practices of TIAA, which has always been thought to be sort of the sleepy, academic, type, and really raising some questions about it. And the New York Attorney General's got some concerns and has subpoenaed just about everything under God's green earth, it looks to be. You guys are beginning to take a look at this, and
Yes.
Do you want to give an update as to where your office is on making sure about $700 million in Rhode Island retirement funds are?
Well, absolutely, and it's not just the money. I mean, it's the people.
Right.
My most important job as treasurer is to ensure the retirement security of the members of the retirement system, including the TIA pref portion of the defined contribution of the pension system. So when I saw the story come out, I was very concerned. Gretchen Morgensen, as you said, is renowned as the best financial. She's it, and someone who I'm a big fan of her work. And I'll start with the good news, which is that some of the practices that she wrote about that were occurring elsewhere in the country cannot happen in Rhode Island. So, for example, we don't allow our members to borrow against their balance. Mm-hmm. We actually have it written into our contract with TIA-CREF that their investment counselors have to act as fiduciaries to the member. It's written in the contract, and so that gives us some measure of comfort. That being said, trust but verify, right? Mm-hmm. So we've had some very intense meetings with TIA over the last few weeks where we've asked them some very pointed questions, asked them for some information, and they've been responding and getting us this information, so we're looking closely at it. At the end of the day, my first priority is to do what's best for the people in the system, so we will do whatever we need to do. If any changes are needed, we will make those changes. So again, some of the more extreme examples that were in the story don't apply to Rhode Island, but we still want to make sure that everything that is being done in Rhode Island is appropriate, and if it's not, then we'll take action.
Should the Rhode Island Attorney General join with the New York Attorney General and delving into some of these things? You have a different role than he does, yeah. And making sure that all practices are the best practices.
Yeah, I mean, we have the State Retirement Board and State Investment Commission that have oversight of this program. We're taking this very seriously, and TIA-CREF has an incentive to get us the information we're asking for because we are paying them, and right. We are taking this very seriously. So, and whether others want to weigh in is up to them, but what I will say is that from my point of view, in my office, we take this seriously. We've had several tough conversations with TIA-CREF over the last few weeks. I imagine we'll have several more, because I want to make sure that whatever may occur outside of Rhode Island, that Rhode Islanders in the system are protected from sales practices that may be inappropriate.
And just so everybody knows, the major investment into TIAA took place by your predecessor, now Governor Raimondo, yeah. In a couple of years before you took yeah. office.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is, whether it's TIA or anybody else, all financial firms are going to be looking to make money, yeah. right? And I think that's one of the things that you pointed out earlier is that whether it's TIA, whoever it is, they all have a profit motive, and so it's our job at the Treasurer's Office, the Retirement Board, to make sure that we have the right controls in place to keep those profit motives at bay when they may lead to irresponsible behavior.
Right.
So that's why we have some of this, language about being a fiduciary. That's why we don't allow some of the practices that were written about elsewhere. But that being said, I do think a higher level of scrutiny on TIA is warranted, given what's come out from elsewhere in the country.
Listen, Elizabeth Warren has a new story about Wells Fargo yeah. almost every week, and they keep saying they've cleaned it up, they fired yeah. the CEO. Yeah. And I think the last one that CNN just broke was on them repossessing active service members' mm-hmm. cars while they were overseas, which is yeah. completely illegal. Right. They're banned by federal law from doing so, and they took back 800 cars and charged them exorbitant fees and a bunch of other things. Came out today that International Business News came out with a story about Paradise funds. This has been a big initiative of the Paradise Papers, of where people are sending money offshore. And unveiling, I think this is the first time that some of these major hedge funds, one of which I think Rhode Island's already out of, but maybe more hedge funds, some of which Rhode Island could still be in. I know you're mm-hmm. divesting Rhode Island as quickly, yeah. as well as protecting the assets as quickly as possible. Are you keeping an eye on that as well, as to whether yeah. or not? Now, some of it may not be legal, but it's certainly bizarre, and it seems inappropriate for retirement funds to be hidden in tax shelters in
sure.
Countries all over the world.
Yeah, so we do have a system in place so that any time there is a allegation against any kind of fund that we invest in, yeah. It's flagged for us and we can take action if appropriate. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that the retirement security of our public employees be protected.
Yeah.
And that's why we unveiled the Back to Basics investment plan last year, which included an exit from hedge funds. We are now out of most of the hedge funds that we were in when I took office. That implementation is still ongoing. It takes some time. But the good news is that we're well down that path, and performance has been good. I just
Implications has been tremendous for the performance of the pension fund.
Exactly. I mean, I just saw, we haven't released the October numbers yet. We will next week, but you know, we're well into the double digits in terms of our 1 year return. We've made hundreds of millions of dollars over the last year, so it's working.
Yeah. Listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Great news on creating a new, much more efficient structure to returning people's money to Rhode Islanders. That's not something we get to talk about every day, so kudos to you on that. Obviously, on the college fund effort, an important time of year to encourage people to take advantage of it. It's incredibly important. As somebody who's funded 2 kids through college, it really has a really important impact of, one, protecting the tax liability and also getting some pretty decent performance over time. And appreciate the update on TIAA.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, and congratulations on the big day.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Stay right here for 1 second. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Business Monday. We'll have more tomorrow. Ava Gaudet is on at 3, and Kate Nagel will be back tomorrow afternoon at 4 with news and politics from the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thanks for tuning in on. Thanks for tuning